Say, feel that bass. We gon' shake up this place.
And we're back. It's the Spartan Boxing Radio Show. Corling, Joey, and Dave back again to break down the mega fight between Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Is this a mega fight, or is this just a fight?
It is. It's an interesting fight. I'll go first, Corley. It's an interesting fight because, they both have relatively thin resumes, but they're both undefeated. They're both young. And if they're both not in their prime, they're probably just before their prime. And this is something that we haven't gotten in a while. And even though it's for no belts, and there's catch weights and rehydration clauses and all the stuff that we hate, it's still a fight that we wanted made. And there's a lot of fights at that weight or in those weight classes between 135 and 140 with Taney and Loma and Shakur now getting there and Ryan and Tank. And there's an abundance of fights that could be. It's prime for like a tournament, but we know that's not going to happen. But it is I do think on paper it is a good fight. And, a lot of people calling it a 50-50 fight. I don't know about that, but it should be fun. It should be fun.
Now,
Tell us about this fight, Corling, because I know that you have a subjective opinion about one of the sides in this fight.
well,
And it's not really the fighter to a certain degree, maybe a little bit, but it's really the management.
well, let's take that out of it. right
Okay.
now. Let's take all management, all promoters. Let's take sides of the street. Let's take that all out, right? This is a fight that is for nothing, right? And it's going to seem like I'm bashing this fight. And I'm not. I'm really just telling the truth about what's there on paper. No belts at stake. These guys, like you said, have thin resumes, right? Thin achievements. Ryan has never held a belt. Tank Davis, I think, has held one belt in one weight class, but he lost the belt due to weight issues, right?
Yeah.
That was at 122 or 126 or whatever.
Well, Tank has had the IBF Super Featherweight title.
Right.
He's had the WBA regular lightweight title.
Raging
And
belt.
he
Okay.
had the WBA super lightweight regular title that he got from, was it Barros?
Everybody else.
Mario Barrios.
Yep. The hometown kid. So, I mean, these guys aren't accomplished. And boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans like ourselves, we know this, right? So this is the question that I have to ask. Why is this fight big? It's a weird fight because it's a ton of anticipation, a ton of buzz, a ton of everything, but it's for nothing. So what is bragging right? And then on top of that, right, is the BS, the weight clauses, the rehydration clauses, and all that stuff that's not even necessary. So what is it about this fight? What makes this fight have allure?
It's the popularity of these guys who are, huge on social media. And they're probably, I would say, the first two of like the younger generation, the guys that run to social media for every little thing to actually fight each other. And a lot of it gets promoted through Instagram or Twitter or some shit like that. Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth between fighters on Twitter and stuff like that, but not guys this young in their prime or pre-prime. And even though it's for nothing,
Right.
I think I pointed out the other day, Ryan has 9.5 million Instagram followers.
Did you see the arrivals?
10...
Did you see the arrivals yesterday?
Yeah, I did. It was like Pacquiao arrived.
It was.
Yeah.
Like a Canelo fight. It was packed. It was packed. But at the same time, even still, all of that notwithstanding, one of the reasons why I don't like the fight, and I know it's going to seem like I'm hating on it, is that this right here is going to set a very horrible precedent. It's going to set a bad precedent, man.
Nope.
It is a literally this is a giant pump fake to the boxing world. I'm gonna tell you, and we're not talking about this, but the real fight in this division is happening like a month from now between Haney and Lomachenko, with all the shit at stake, with two guys that have accomplished way more than both of these guys put together. Just
one of them has definitely accomplished way more.
Way more. And then look, Devin Haney at a young age is this guy is undisputed, and he's over there wanting all the smoke with everybody. These two, though, especially Tank Davis, though I've been critical about him in the past, this guy is the definition of what is it? This is the Neo Floyd Mayweather. This is the guy who has picked and chosen his way all the way up the rankings, and that's it. Tank's a draw, though. He's a draw.
Right. He picked and chose his way, and look who his mentor is.
Exactly. That's why I said he is the Neo Floyd Mayweather.
But the thing you're saying, like, that this is going to set like a bad way in boxing. I'd rather see this than see Jake Paul.
Oh no, absolutely. This is a fight between two real boxers. We can do that.
Thank you.
At the same time, okay, look, let me ask a question to both of y'all. What does the winner of this fight get?
Sometimes just popularity and notoriety will get you to the next plateau. And
fame.
With this fight, with a win over a guy that's almost as popular as each other. Actually, Instagram wouldn't say so, but you know, as far as in the boxing world, I think we were going through this the other day when we were texting. You could say that maybe Tank garners more of the real boxing fan, where Ryan would garner more of the casuals.
But why does Tank garner more of the real boxing fans when his resume is thin? His resume, the most meaningful fight, and I was looking at his record, the most meaningful fight he's had, to me, was the Pedraza fight, which was 6 years ago. Because I don't consider the Leo Santa Cruz fight, who came up 2 weight classes to fight him, meaningful. It wasn't. And even in that fight with Pedraza, he made Pedraza come up a weight class to fight. So how meaningful is him fighting, you know, the guys like Rolly Romero and Ricardo Nunez and Hugo Ruiz?
Yeah, these guys.
It's just been fluff.
Rolly only had 14 fights. I mean, I don't see where the popularity came from.
Rolly has
for him,
trouble
other than
throwing
being
punches.
Yeah.
He has trouble throwing straight punches. I mean, this guy. Let
me ask you a question. You're saying, well, how does Tank garner more fans or whatever in the boxing world? Why does Ryan garner any fans at all? Like even like just on Instagram? What? Because he's a good looking kid. That's it. Big deal.
That's it.
Big deal. What does that have to do with boxing?
That's what makes the world turn right now with social media. It's
I
what you look,
that.
it's what you show. And I can see that Tank has skills, and I can see he has speed. He has exceptional power and knocks out guys in a flashy way and all that. But who's he knocking out? Who is he fighting? How is this meaningful? So to say that you know, Tank is not in the same boat as Ryan. I mean, I think they're both in the same boat.
Well, all right, okay, and I agree to a certain degree, but this is something interesting. If you look at the resumes and you say, yeah, they're both paper thin, blah blah blah. If you include this fight, their opponent right now going back 10 fights. So if you're looking at Ryan, you say Gervonta plus his last 9. So that's 10 fights. There's combined amount of losses for Ryan's opponents are like 22. I did the same thing for Tank. You know what it is? You know what the number is? 12.
For the last 10 opponents?
Last 10 opponents, 12. 12 losses.
So you're basically saying by the resume, Tank's resume is better. Based
I
on the
mean,
last
it ain't really saying much, but just
Right.
if you're looking at records and saying this guy's better than this guy because he has less losses, then yeah. But I'm because there's really nothing to base how good either one of these guys are because they really haven't faced anybody. And if one of them isn't the real deal, then how important is this win then?
Look,
Other than a popularity contest.
Pedraza's somebody. Pedraza was a good test for Tank, but
He's
that was
in
6 years ago.
Right.
Luke Campbell was a very good test for Ryan
And that was
Garcia.
only 2 years ago.
And that was only, but the point is that there was a level of competition in that fight in which Ryan had to experience, and he won the fight. I mean, he got tagged, he got sat down, but Luke Campbell wasn't just a slouch. Luke Campbell was an Olympian. Luke Campbell can fight, and Ryan found a way to win that fight. So I think that as far as their resumes, they seem pretty equal to me.
And
I mean,
I just watched that fight recently against Luke Campbell because I wanted a little reference because Ryan hasn't fought a lot of southpaws. So I was like, all right, this is the last southpaw he fought. It's probably the best southpaw on his resume because maybe he's got some early guys early on. But other than that, I just needed a little reference. And he did good things, obviously, because he won the fight and he won by knockout and he won by a body shot.
Right.
But
right,
he also did a lot of bad things.
terrible.
And that was only 2 years ago. You know, that fight happened in January of 2021. So a little over 2 years ago.
So here's why I think this fight's meaningful. It's meaningful because they're fighting young.
Good.
They're fighting in physical primes. Maybe Ryan is going into his physical prime, and maybe Tank is at his peak physically. So that's close enough for me. I'm cool with that. Young cats, 23, 24, 28, whatever. That's good. We're not looking at guys in their 30s, you know, who are going into fights less than below their primes, which is what's been happening for the last 10 years. So to me, that's meaningful. Second, they're both undefeated. Regardless of what you want to think of the resumes, they're both undefeated. They both have big followings. And this puts boxing on center stage for a lot of people, aside from us, the hardcore boxing fans. This is exposing
Real boxing instead of a Jake Paul circus.
Real boxing, and it's going to feel like a big fight. And the casual fan that tunes in will see this and go, wow, I can dig this.
This is elite level.
Yes. And that's what they're going to think. And that's fine with me. And whoever wins this fight gets launched into stardom. And whoever loses this fight gets a lot of recognition. And
depending on how they lose.
I mean, aside from losing in the first round by a KO, you know, flash KO, I think that they both will come out winning in this fight. Even if
I would say
loses.
you're right in that. And one thing I wanted to touch on when you said they're both in their physical prime. I don't mind if a fighter's not in his mental prime, because when you're younger and you're at your physical prime, you might be able to overcome some of the things, you know, that not being too smart in the ring, but your physical abilities can overcome.
Right.
And when you're older and all you have is your mental, that might be all you need to get by. But then when there's a younger guy that's, you know, he's in his prime, he's in his mental prime, physical prime, that's where you get overcome.
Right.
Their physical will overcome their mental issues when they're young. We've seen that before with Wilfred Benitez. We've seen that with Duran. We've seen that with Sugar Ray Leonard. Even in loss, he came back and whooped Duran because his physical attributes were able to overcome his mental issues after that loss. So
I know Coley wants to touch on mental issues.
Well, if Corling is going to touch on mental issues, I think he needs to, talk about both fighters with
Well,
with that regard.
Yes.
let me tell you something. If you want to speak to, because this is what I do a lot, I speak to mentalities of, fighters just based off of what I see, based off of what they say, based off of how they conduct themselves. And looking at all these all accesses, looking at all these interviews, especially from Ryan Garcia, it's real tough to assess what he's actually thinking. Because to me, right, on the surface, it seems like Ryan Garcia is just overcompensating, trying to project, an abundance of confidence in this fight. Of course, he talked himself into this fight, right? He's been calling Tank out for what, the better part of 2-3 years, and he got the fight. Now he has it, and he's been doing the bulk of the talking, right? Like Ryan Garcia's been talking shit.
He is selling it.
I'll tell you what he reminds me of. He reminds me of Victor Ortiz when he was getting ready to fight Floyd. He was just talking to talk. It's immaturity, really, what's going on with Ryan. So I expect that. I expect that to happen, and he's kind of in his script.
I'm not worried about that if that's really what you're about, right? Because I remember Floyd talking shit, and there was no doubt in my mind that, this guy is the real deal based off of what I've seen in the ring. Roy Jones Jr., think about the shit talking he was doing after Montel Griffin, the second part, when he was like, Roy Jones is number one, and I'm going to be that way, like the shit talking. But he silenced all doubters right there. Ryan Garcia he's a guy where I'm like, this is a fake dude. Until further notice, I haven't seen it.
A lot of it seems scripted.
It seems very scripted, right? And then, when you have Tank and the things that he's saying, right? And Tank is serial killer calling. This dude he's a lot different than he's been in the past, right?
Well, what? I wanted to ask you about that because you keep saying how you think he's matured. How? What makes you think that? What did you see from him now that you didn't see from, because he's still got a court case coming up too.
I feel you. I understand. Now, but it does take a level of maturity because, even his speech patterns, right? Like from before, when he was first with Floyd, if you remember, it sounded like he had a mouthful of peanut butter when he was talking, right? Like he couldn't express himself.
Like Errol?
Yep. But he couldn't Errol with a new teeth. Stop it. But he couldn't enunciate words. He was struggling to find the words to say in order to express himself. Now he seems like look, when you speak better, to me, it means that he's been working on it, right? It could mean that he's living better. Maybe he's not drinking anymore. Maybe he's not smoking or the nightlife.
See, that's where I got to stop you.
What's up?
Because no one's allowed to say maybe around you.
Okay. You know what? This is just something that I've noticed.
See, I didn't even have to say that much because you know what you're doing.
Okay. No, I completely.
Thank you.
This dude seems a lot more mature now.
No, listen. I got to stop you for a second too.
Maybe
because
these are all words that get trigger words for you. In the group.
Pre-show things that they're doing, like the 24/7. I don't remember what the name of it is for Showtime or whatever.
All access.
Whatever. Yeah, Tank's already said on that show that he's the other night at the club we were doing this and that. So
no, that was in the past.
No. This was in this one. This was in this one.
But Ryan was in the club too.
Yeah, they were both in the club. So
yeah, but this is years ago.
And on top of that,
no, I don't think it was years ago, but I do think it was before training camp or whatever.
Maybe Tank seems calmer than he did before, but he still eats candy like an 8-year-old. He still does a lot. He's still hanging out with his.
We saw him buy the candy. We didn't see him eat it. Go ahead. I know.
Yeah, and Ryan went to the movies and he bought a bunch of candy too. But he says, "I just want him to think I'm eating this shit." But here's what I remember. It was one of the last.
Tacos after a workout, after a 5-minute workout. We saw
It was either one of the last 24/7s with
Okay.
it was a Floyd fight,
Okay.
or it was an All Access. I don't remember.
Right.
And Floyd was doing yoga at this point. It was at the end.
Right.
But after yoga, he went to get McDonald's. So some people are so blessed that they can eat that shit.
Right.
You know?
He's blessed with the genetics, and Tank is not. I've made that clear.
Tank's a little fat fuck sometimes. He better watch out.
Tank is fluffy, man. Tank is fluffy. Tank is fluffy, man. But at the same time, he does.
Cooper's fluffy. Tank is puffy.
Like he's immature. Now Ryan is immature, but he just seems so artificial, so forced. That's what he seems. So that's why I'm kind of speaking to the mentality of the fighters, and I'm like, you know what? Dudes like this, either they know something that all of us don't know, and we've seen it before, right? Like they'll come out the bag with us, and we're like, damn, okay, I didn't know he had that. He is the beast. Or
85% of the time.
85% of the time, this dude gets flatlined.
Yeah, he's just selling the fight, and it's
I'm not saying that he's like Rolly, because Rolly, I think we all knew what the hell was going to happen, right? Rolly was a pretender. He talked his way into that fight, and he got flatlined after 6 rounds.
Well, all right. So if Ryan winds up with the same fate as Rolly, is he a pretender?
Absolutely. And
because David was just saying earlier how he thinks even the loser's going to come out of this with at least some recognition.
Right.
Rolly left that fight with no recognition. Everybody laughed at him.
See, the thing is that I want whoever loses this fight, and this is the thing, I want that train to stop, and I think that it will, right? Because I do think that Tank has a pretty rabid fan base, right? He has a pretty diehard fan base. Tank is. I know a lot of dudes who love Tank. I
know someone in particular who doesn't even like him and pretends to defend him to their death.
Does Tank have the LDBCQT, whatever the hell they're called? LDBGQ.
No, they're
called?
They're on board with Tank.
They're on board with Tank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing. So Tank has the blessing of a lot of people, and Ryan has the blessing of a lot of people also.
So if Tank loses, then that means that Ryan cheated.
No.
That's what's gonna happen. That's what they're gonna say.
See, you can't have the fuckery before the fight and then have excuses after the fight too.
Absolutely not. No, if Tank loses, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people are gonna have to reevaluate, including myself, their boxing knowledge and how they watch.
Before we go on to anything else, I have one question for both of you.
Okay.
Have you ever remembered a fight where there was a catchweight that was clearly bringing one fighter down or trying to drain one fighter, but also a rehydration clause in the same fight? And
Chavez Jr. and Canelo.
There was both?
Yeah. I think that he was trying to, because remember, that was around the time that Chavez Jr. was walking around at like 200 pounds, right?
That was 164 and a half pounds for that fight, but I don't know if there was a rehydration clause too.
Wait, wasn't it like 185? I want to say that it was, but you can fact check me on that.
I'm not sure, but I don't remember both. And if that's the case, and if Ryan looks like shit, how much credit are you really giving to Tank?
Wait, hold on. Now you're asking me, or how much credit is going to
No. Because I'm asking because, when you look on BoxRec or Boxing Scene or one of these websites, know, it's going to show Tank knocked out Ryan, blah, blah, blah. That's it, right? But every single fight, every time we go through one of these, there is a lot of context that gets ignored as the years pass.
Right. Now, look, I'm going to tell you, if you're asking me if Tank just goes out there and obliterates Ryan, right? He will get as much credit from me. All shit talking aside, right? He'll get as much credit from me as I gave him for Pedraza or Liam Walsh or Fonseca or any of the other guys that he fought because I don't believe in Ryan anyway. You see what I mean? Especially if he loses in
You know,
absolute brutal fashion.
you know what people call that? They call that bias.
Hey, but
You.
what it is now, I'm gonna tell you, I would feel a little bit differently about Ryan if Ryan goes in there and flatlines Tank. But whatever. Your question was
You would have to be.
with
You would
all,
have to feel that way. You wouldn't have a choice.
but your question is, if because of the rehydration and all that.
Let's say Ryan fades late, right? He looks great, but then he fades late, and then after the fight, he says, "You know what? The weight affected me."
You know what? The thing is that I'm gonna tell you, I don't even care about that. I don't want to hear any not from Ryan. I don't want to hear anything. Yeah. But
if anyone can make excuses, it would be Ryan because he had to submit to all this. And if Tank goes in there and he fades late, and he says, "Well, it was the motherfucker. It was your idea."
right. Now I will tell you though, if with the weight issues and all of that. Now I'll tell you, if Tank, geez, I forgot what I was gonna say. If he goes in there and if he wins, I completely understand. But now from the boxing public, he's gonna get credit anyway. And
I know. Because they'll forget the context.
Exactly, and that's what I'm talking about. It sets a bad precedent. This is a fight. It's for casuals. It's not really for us. We're gonna watch anyway, but it's not for us because all the things.
It is if it ends up taking boxing and putting it in the right direction. It gets these young guys to fight these other young guys in their prime, and then eventually for titles or for big paydays that mean something. Because maybe right now you're right. Maybe this is just the Instagram title of the world.
Right.
You could be right. But if it
Yeah.
propels the sport away from the Jake Paul nonsense and it gets us back to real boxing with young stars, then great. That's what we want. That's why we're going to watch.
To me, this is kind of like I'll put it in the same category as a Trinidad versus Campas, where they were both undefeated. One had the pedigree, the other one not so much, but they were both undefeated, and it ended up shooting one into stardom, or at least into the path, or you could even see it as a fight between Leonard and Benitez, because before that they just had maybe one or two meaningful fights. It happened to be title fights for them, or at least for Benitez, it was a title fight against Palomino. But
think about Benitez and Leonard; they were younger than both of these guys are right now.
So maybe it's a little bit late in the game for this, but I compare it to that. So they have the potential to go on to bigger and better things if they're allowed to.
But see, here's the thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Go ahead.
We literally cannot compare this matchup to anything. You're talking about Leonard and Benitez, Campas, and Trinidad. These dudes were even more accomplished at a very young and tender age.
You're going back too far though, and I'm going to interrupt you, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of title fights that are a lot more meaningless than this fight.
I agree. Now, I agree with that. But the thing is we can't compare. I've never seen a fight with nothing, literally with nothing, that is this big. This is a weird fucking fight, man. It's weird.
You know what? We're just not used to it anymore. Maybe it's that.
I don't know what it is.
Aside from all the Instagram connotations and all that stuff that I don't even have an Instagram account. Like, I don't give a fuck.
And the fact that this represents something, and I don't know what it is the reason why I'm saying that this is a dangerous precedent. Because
you know why? Because you're old and you're going to be 40 in about 41 days.
Well, listen, I'm going to reiterate what I've said before. I think that they both will gain something meaningful from this fight Tank goes in there and does anything other than fall flat on his face in the first 30 seconds of the first round, he's going to come out with meaningful exposure, and we'll get some credit. If Ryan goes in there and actually makes it a good fight, even if he loses, then we have to rethink what we think
Right.
of Ryan.
Yeah, we got to reevaluate.
If you're going to put Tank up on a pedestal for winning this fight and Ryan has a good showing, then you got to give him credit too.
I am hoping for a good fight. I think
That's
that
it.
a lot
That's
of
it.
people are looking at this fight as it's going to be a Ryan Garcia obliteration. Tank is going to destroy him. I think that Tank recognizes that that's not, what he's expecting. And he's mentioned some reference to that where he needs to be more defensive. He recognizes that Ryan can punch. So this may be a little bit more technical in the beginning, and then it's going to heat up midway. So that's why I don't like the over and short where they have it set at 7.5 rounds. I think that's
short.
that's a bad one.
But remember,
I think it's going to be a better fight than anybody expects, and I think that Ryan has a chance to sit Tank down on the mat. Maybe not knock him out, but don't be surprised. Tank gets hit quite easily, and this is lefty versus lefty.
No, lefty versus righty.
I mean, lefty versus righty, and Ryan has a good left hook that can get there really quick over the jab. So
and a good straight right, and for someone that can be,
and not only that, but Tank is going to have to come in. He's going to have to get close to be able to land on Ryan because Ryan is taller and has a longer reach.
okay. Go ahead.
So before we make any predictions,
I'm not saying that Ryan's going to win.
Where are you watching a fight? I don't want you to predict yet. Where are you watching a fight?
Me?
You're talking to me?
Both of you.
I'm watching it here at home.
I'll be at work. I might try and get off and go somewhere, but I'm definitely not doing it.
I'm going to when you both came for my birthday, David ate at a restaurant with me because Corlin was late. So that restaurant, the Cajun place, they have a rooftop. So we'll be up on a rooftop on Saturday.
Are they're having a fight party over there?
Oh, it's gonna be mad. And I have like 15 people already going with me.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
You know how I roll. So that's gonna be my Saturday night on the rooftop. Big fight. Should be fun.
What are the pros and cons for each fighter? What are the attributes that they have, and what are their weaknesses? Just 3. Give me 3 of each.
You want me to go ahead and start off real quick?
Start with
All
Tank.
right.
Start with Tank.
I'll start with Tank. And Tank, to me, right? Number one, I think his stature is going to play a big part in this fight. Everybody is over here talking about, Ryan Garcia is punching down and all that. But when you're that short, you're really changing the trajectory and the angles of your punches.
Wait, are we doing pros or cons?
No. I'm doing pros. Tank's size, how short he is, I think it's going to help him out because it changes the angles and the trajectory in which Ryan has to defend it. So that's number one. Number 2, I am going to say speed because look, I think Tank he's fast, but he's an athletic fast. Tank is very, very explosive, man. And with Tank, when he hits you, think about the Leo Santa Cruz fight, right? Leo Santa Cruz was sitting here, he was peppering away and, doing all this. And it was kind of like Leo Santa Cruz had a 22 and, Tank Davis had that, down
shotgun.
Here in Texas, we call it that goddamn it, that shotgun, exactly. That 12 gauge. And he
Put
was
the cow.
right. He was blowing slugs off until, of course, Leo Santa Cruz got flatlined. So that's number two. Number three, I'm gonna have to give the defensive edge to Tank. Look, I think that everyone talks about Tank's defense and how he gets hit. Leo Santa Cruz was hitting him. Who's the guy that he just fought? I just watched him.
Cruz.
Yeah,
Cruz
he
was peppering. Cruz was.
no, he was. Man, that was actually a good fight. If you think about it, that was a good fight. He was a good boxer. Definitely a good boxer. Pitbull. No, not Pitbull Cruz. I'm talking about the last guy that he fought.
Hector Garcia.
Hector Garcia. That was a good fight. That fight was even up until he got stopped. Even Rolly was hitting him with some stuff.
Not according to the judges. They had they had Tank up 4 rounds, 5 rounds. It was ridiculous.
That was an even fight. That was a good fight. But I'm gonna have to give the defensive edge to Tank. And what Tank does, because of his stature, he sits there and I think he measures you and he looks at how he can get in little creases and little openings in which he can go ahead and exploit his explosion, his power, and his opponent's weaknesses. So
Okay. So what are his weaknesses?
Well, he kind of did both for both.
Well, not really. I want to hear from Corley what he
Fighting-
thinks is going to be
Tank's weaknesses and what could be his undoing
yes.
if Ryan Garcia executes the perfect game plan, which I don't think he's going to do. But anyway, number one, fighting moving backwards for Tank is a struggle. That dude does not. I don't care about that Rolly fight and how he baited him in and hit him with a left and all that. No. Tank moving backwards. When you're able to dictate pace on him, that dude cannot fight moving backwards. I don't want to say he can't because he can. He's just not very adept at doing so. And I think he's used to throwing something at somebody and everyone knows that they have to respect his power. And that's when they take a back step and then Tank goes ahead and maintains control. So he's used to controlling opponents, but I've never, ever seen him have success with other people at dictating the pace on him. That's number one. Number two, and it's probably not going to happen in this fight a lot because he fights a lot of orthodox fighters. He doesn't really throw his jab. He doesn't set stuff up very well to me. So that's number two. Number three, you know what I'm going to do for? Because number three, I've seen Tank get frustrated in fights as well. I've seen him get outboxed. It's happened. And when he gets outboxed, he starts coming forward a lot more menacingly, right?
So you're saying he's not matured?
Saying that he lets emotions at times get the best of him because Tank is still a very emotional guy, right? So when he's starting to get outboxed, when he gets hit, when he gets undressed, a lot of times Tank is just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna put up the high guard and I'm coming at him. And that creates openings for other opponents. And then number four, not to get super technical on it, but Tank's a southpaw, and when he's circling to the right, the way that he pivots out sometimes, he squares himself up, and it leaves him open for either a left hook or a right hand. Wide the fuck open. Pitbull hit him with it. Fonseca hit him with it. Even Leo Santa Cruz hit him with some shit. It was just crazy at how he does this little move, like the swim move that he does. It's weird. It's weird. But I would have to more so show you better than I could tell you. Now, let me talk about Ryan Garcia. Let me talk about his pros. All right, Ryan Garcia.
Wait, are we all gonna do Tank, then we'll all do Ryan, or you?
No,
go ahead.
Let me get off on Ryan real quick. Ryan's pros. Yes, he's fast. He's a different kind of fast, right? But yes, he's fast. He has hand speed. That is number one. Number two, that left hook is no fucking joke. Do y'all remember that Fortuna fight? I didn't see how Fortuna went down. I couldn't see it. I had to watch replay about 3 times, and I was like, oh shit, Fortuna got hit with that shit. And with the way that he did it against Luke Campbell was so fucking concerned with that left hook up top. And Ryan framed that shit to the body and stopped him. So the way that he disguised it, the way that he hit it, it was absolutely beautiful. You know, I love it. And then the pro is his length, right? His height. If he's able to use it correctly, then he can really give Tank some issues because, like you said, Tank has to come in on Ryan Garcia. He has to come in. And if he utilizes his height and his reach properly, then he has to come through a hailstorm of shit, especially if he's active, especially if he throws a jab. Oh my God. But of course, I'm talking about another fighter, not Ryan Garcia. Now, Ryan's cons. His chin is always up in the air. When he throws punches, it's up in the air. This dude's chin is up in the air. And it was in the air against Luke Campbell.
Mhm.
And this dude pulls straight back from punches as well. And that is something that you cannot do on somebody as explosive as Tank Davis. That's number one. Number two, I don't like Ryan's feet, man. And you see, I look at him training, and I think that you fight how you train, right? Ryan is so used to doing these Instagram flashy workouts, right? These things to where he's stationary and he's able to look good and pepper away at bags and, you know, the springs and the speed bag and the double end bag and all that. It looked good. But at the same time, that is an opponent that's not moving all over the place, right? He can anticipate where it is and he can throw his speed against that. That's not an opponent. Number three, look, man, this dude always has his fucking hands down. Always has his hands down. And that is definitely not something that you can do with Tank. You got to hold the phone. In between punches, Ryan always has his opposite hand down because I think he's trying to be more quick and more fast and more flashy than fundamental. Ryan has the speed to where he can afford to take some speed off, and concentrate on holding your fucking hands up, man. Like, this dude, how can you not chuck your chin and you fucking drop your hands? Lord have mercy. That's why I think it's going to be a disaster, but we'll go to you, Joe. What do you think?
All right, so I don't think this fight is that hard to pick the pros and cons from each fighter. So I do agree with a lot of what you said. For Tank, I would say the power is definitely, he has the advantage in power. He has a 92% KO rate from what I can see, just on paper, he's got the better resume, slightly, but he has got a better resume, and he's got a 92% knockout rate, whereas Ryan only has 82%. Number two, it's a pro and a con. His size. If he can stay compact but get inside, it's a pro.
Right.
But if Ryan can fight from the outside and use his height and his length and his distance, it could be a negative for Tank. And he is hittable. Number three, he is hittable. He's not impossible. His defense isn't great. Like you said, I do agree about him going backwards. He's not perfect going backwards.
Right.
So those are my three biggest takeaways from Tank. With Ryan, he's got speed. I agree. But it's mostly hand speed. He's got height. He's got reach. Those are his advantages. He's got physical advantages, but he would have to really be on his A game to pull off, what people think he can pull off. But it's got to be like, I'm on my A game all night. He can't fuck around and, like you said, drop his hands and all that stuff.
Right.
Because if Luke Campbell caught him and floored him, if Tank catches him and floors him, he might not get up.
Might not get up. Yep.
Number three, and this is why I watched the Luke Campbell fight for reference. A couple of things I saw. You're right. His head is always up in the air. You're right. His hands are always down. What I did see was early on, before the knockdown, he chose to fight. He gauged the distance perfect. He used his reach and his height at the perfect distance. And he was doing well until he got a little careless. And that's because his fucking hands are down. So he got dropped and he woke up and he said, okay, I can't do that. So here's a good thing about Ryan, but also a bad thing. When he had Luke Campbell hurt, he really went into the kill. And he went in for the kill, and he knows how to finish. But the bad side of that was he left himself completely square.
Boy.
And
Yeah.
if he thinks Tank is hurt and he's not, he's going to get dropped. And the other thing, after he got dropped, and I'll give him credit for getting dropped and getting up and, you know, going and finish a guy with a body shot. His left hook is dangerous. He's got a good straight right hand, but he does that from down here. And he doesn't want you to see the punches so good, because if they're here, you can see this. But if they're down here, you don't see it coming.
Right.
When he got dropped and he got up, he threw bigger, wider looping hooks than a normal Danny Garcia. And I always criticize Danny Garcia for these big loopy punches. Ryan was worse. And if he's hurt and he does get up, he's not going to get away with those. He's not going to, because Tank is the kind of guy that'll make you pay. He'll lose rounds. You know, Tank will lose rounds, and, you know, even to a guy like Rolly, he lost rounds. And even to a guy like his last fight was Hector Garcia. You said you had it about even. Yep. That was about right. I don't know what the judges saw, but that was about right. It was about even, or maybe Tank was up by 1 or 2 rounds.
Maybe.
Yep. Right. Basically. So he's gonna have to try to stay in the fight and can't let Ryan get too far ahead. But I think even if that happens, you know, Ryan could get careless, and he's done that by thinking a guy is hurt. And with him, he was lucky because Luke Campbell really was hurt, but he squared up, man. He squared up, and, you know, those are some of the, I didn't number them just like you, but, you know, those are some of the good and bads from both of them.
Right.
David?
So here's what I think about Tank. I think Tank obviously has power. We know that. But Tank also has the ability to mix up his power and change the level of power he's throwing with.
And speed. So that helps.
Speed and yeah, exactly. And so he's able to change up that speed and change up what he's hitting his opponent with, to then land something big, fast, and time it. And I think that's something that he does very well. He's able to change up his attack and keep his opponent guessing of what's coming. He has a really good ability to throw a punch that his opponent is not expecting.
Right.
He has that knack that not a lot of fighters have, that he can get inside and then throw a punch that you go, where did that come from? And I mean, you as a viewer, you see that suddenly here comes an uppercut where you're not expecting an uppercut, and there goes the fighter. His opponent goes and drops to the floor.
Right.
He has a very good ability to do that. He has a good ability to walk his opponents down when he wants to, when he feels like, whether it's because he's behind on points or whatever the reason is, he's very strong. He's a strong fighter.
Right.
And he has a pretty good boxing IQ. So I think that helps him quite a bit. What I think is going to hurt him in this fight is his lack of defense. And I know you say that he has good defense. I don't know, man. He may have a good chin, or he may think he has a good chin, because he hasn't really fought guys that have landed on him flush and guys that have had power. Let's face it, Leo Santa Cruz and Pitbull are not the biggest hitters. But he has
Ryan
shown,
with his hands down could help him land one of those punches that Tank doesn't see, and then we'll all find out what kind of chin he has.
So I think that's a con for Tank, and also a con for Tank is his emotional situation in the ring. If he does feel like he's not looking good, he's going to get emotional, and then he will come forward like he's done before, but that will leave him open for mistake and can get caught. That may work with a Leo Santa Cruz. That may not work with a Ryan. Ryan has enough power to capitalize on that. So to me, the power is a plus for Tank. The punch placement, the unexpected punches are all, and also I don't know how well prepared he's going to be for this fight. That sometimes can be, a crapshoot. It seems like he's prepared for this fight. I think he's taking this fight seriously, but he's gone into fights before where he comes out of shape. We'll see in the weigh-in what happens. So for Ryan has speed. Ryan has a great left hook. Ryan can throw that left hook to the head and to the body. And he's tall, he has reach, and he has tasted adversity, which is something that Tank has not yet. So we know that if Ryan gets sat down early in the fight, he has shown that he can recover and keep fighting.
Mhm.
We've never have you guys ever seen Tank hurt? Like hurt?
Never.
No.
Never seen him
No.
hurt.
No.
Never.
So what's going to happen if Tank gets
Never have to
clocked?
tie it up or anything like that. Yeah.
What's going to happen if he's spinning to the right and suddenly here comes the left hook and lands on his jaw and suddenly we see his legs buckle? Even if he doesn't hit the floor, what are we going to see from Tank? I mean, is he going to be able to handle that? We don't know yet.
We don't know.
If that were to happen, it would be
We may have a Zab Judah in our hands and we don't know yet, where he gets touched once and then that's changes the fight completely for them.
yeah.
There
That's
are
what I mean.
fighters. There are fighters like that.
It could be
He's-
the first taste of adversity might really affect him in a negative way.
He seems to have a good jaw. He seems to take punches well,
Seems
but
to be strong.
there's not enough information there yet against a fighter that can punch for me to make a decision and to categorically say that Tank will take Ryan's power with no problem, and he will react well when he does take the shots. I think Ryan's going to land something, and I think we're going to see Tank in trouble, but that's neither here nor there right now. I think that Ryan's issues are he doesn't change speed in his punches. He throws one speed and he's easy to time.
Yep.
Campbell timed him.
Right.
And other fighters time him.
And
But
I just watched that fight not that a few days ago, and it wasn't the only time. When he got dropped, he still got hit with that same punch afterwards. Now maybe it wasn't as flush. It wasn't as
Yeah.
If your was hurt, you never know.
but he got caught with it more than once. Even after he got knocked down from it, he didn't learn his lesson.
And here's something that you guys haven't mentioned that I think is definitely a con for Ryan is his thin torso. He is real skinny. And I can tell you that Tank is going to go target that. Tank will go in there and rough him up.
They're at that level too.
And and I expect that in the end, Tank is going to land a body shot and end the fight with a body shot. But if he doesn't, he's going to soften.
You just gave away your prediction, so you might as well go.
That is my prediction. But if he doesn't knock him out to the body, he'll soften him up enough where Ryan is going to be wide open to the head.
So his hands will be down more than they already are.
They're going to be by his, balls at this point. So I think that Ryan not having great footwork, Ryan pulling back straight, Ryan can get roughed up in this fight. And if that happens, if it gets close quarters, it's going to be a body shot. It's going to end this fight. What round, I don't know, but I think those are the biggest cons with Ryan. It's just physically, he's thin and tall, and he's open for body shots. And
dreams. Theoretically, he'll be dreams.
Well, I don't know much about whether he'll be drained or not. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see. He's a young kid,
Yeah.
and
He can
I
snap
think
it.
they can assimilate that a little bit better than the older guys. I mean,
Right.
he's 23, right?
That's
Ryan
right.
is 23.
Yeah.
Ryan is 23.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Tank is 28.
Tank's
Ryan is
28,
20. Yeah, Ryan is 23. So I think
24 years old.
he can assimilate that. But I still think the fight will be better than what we expect. And those are the pros and cons for me on this fight. With each fighter. So predictions. We got
And God,
we got 8 minutes left. So predictions.
Well,
Uh,
I'll keep it real short and sweet. The I said earlier, if he employs these tactics, but I'm talking about a different fighter. And the fighter that I will watch and that Ryan needs to emulate is like Larry Holmes, right? But he doesn't have those feet. He doesn't have those legs, and he doesn't have that toughness. So
Tommy Hearns, Larry Holmes type of
Larry
feet.
Holmes versus like Ernie Shavers, like that
Yeah.
right there, just dancing all over the place, and then that's it. Throwing the jab and throwing nothing else but the jab if he can't get past that. But we know that Ryan's not going to do that, right? So I'm looking for Tank to maybe get peppered, right? And feint his way into position. Of course, controlling the distance, controlling the ring, making Ryan move backwards, make him use those little Bambi legs of his, put him in a position. I just see Tank weaving him into the web, and then bam, he's going to strike probably about round 6, round 7, and Ryan's going to go to the corner real fucking hurt, probably saved by the bell, and I think Tank finishes him round 7, 7.5, all of that. I think the line is about right. So I have Tank via KO, violent KO, world star hip hop, looking up at the lights, KO, round before 8. I'm sorry, he's gonna get this man out of here.
Okay, so I think we're going to get the best version. We're going to get everybody's A game early in the fight. And if that's the case, I think Tank will be getting outboxed. But
Well,
to the naked eye.
outpointed at least.
Outpointed to the naked eye, outpointed. But I
Right.
think he'll be waiting and waiting and waiting. And he'll wait for the right moment because Ryan can be timed. And like Luke Campbell did it, and he's a better fighter than Luke Campbell, he'll catch him. Maybe around 6 or 7. And I'm going to piggyback. I think it's over before 8. I think, I think most of us will have Ryan up before the knockout, like considerably up, like maybe even like 4-2. And then he'll lose. And I don't know about a body shot. I think because his hands are down and because he's already been dropped with the left hook by Luke Campbell. I think because his hands will be down, the Tank won't even bother wasting time. He might go to the body here and there just to make him conscious of it, but he'll catch him, and it's either going to be Gonzo or the next round Gonzo, one or the other. Because I think the way I saw him react to getting dropped by Luke Campbell and just flailing punches,
Right.
I don't think that's going to go well with Tank. And as from everything I saw on All Access, and I haven't watched part 3, I watched the first 2. They're not as good as 24/7, so just stop calling. They're okay though. They're okay, and then maybe they're okay because of it's a good fight, or it's a fight we're interested in.
Right.
But Tank is likable.
Yeah.
Even if he's buying $76 in candy or whatever the fuck, but he's likable, and you know what? At his age and his he can get away with it. If he can make weight, then fuck it. Eat all the candy you want. It's fine. Because Floyd was doing it in his 40s. So good for you if you can eat McDonald's.
Well,
I hate that shit.
you already know my prediction. I don't think it's going to be over as soon as you guys think, because I think it's going to be a more of a chess match in the beginning. I think Tank's going to bide his time, and he's going to be cautious to check and taste the power and see what he's up against before he starts putting his game plan in. So I think it's going to be later. I think it's going to be into the maybe double digit rounds where
10,
he
11.
ends up, yeah, where he ends up
Maybe.
stopping him. And yeah, I think that Ryan can get ahead in points, but if Ryan starts taking shots, then he's going to get shy also.
Right.
But Ryan's
Yeah.
going to be there throwing the 1-2, throwing the 1-1, 1-2, 1-1, 1-2. That's all he's going to do.
What happened in the Luke Campbell fight is after he got dropped, he never really got hurt again after that. He got his head snapped back a couple times, but it was nothing serious. And like I said, he got caught with the same punch that knocked him down, but it was nothing serious. I think everything after getting knocked down, if he gets hurt by Tank, even if he doesn't go down, if he gets hurt, it's still going to be serious business going forward. And he's not really going to get a chance to recover.
We
Well-
can't get off without saying this. And this is the quote of the whole buildup, right? Tank looks at Ryan on film and says, he's slow for real. That means something to me. Why would Tank say that? We're going to see that on Saturday night.
And I
Well-
told you 90 miles an hour in a batting cage looks slow until you're sitting in the batting cage.
He's sitting in the batting cage. That's exactly right.
Oh shit, that's
Well,
faster.
that's
than I
it.
thought.
You guys have Tank mid fight with a
I'd
KO.
say round 8.
Okay,
Night,
round
night.
8.
Corley, give me a round.
Corling 7.
Hey, I'm taking around that 7.5. So you're talking about before 8. Goodbye. Night.
I'll give him till round 10 at least,
So we
if
got
not
2
if not
8s and a
11.
10.
But I
Where-
expect it to be a better fight than most people think.
Where's Cooper
I
right now?
do too. I actually do too.
If Cooper's asleep, that's what you need to pan to, because that's gonna be Ryan on Saturday night. Flat line. Where is?
Bro.
Please get this on the recording. Yep. Hey, Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia right there. That's what we're looking at.
Ryan ain't blonde. Well, that's it for this episode of the Spartan Boxing Radio Show. And
If I'm gonna show Cooper, I need
I
a
hope
shameless
it's a
plug.
I hope it's a good fight. Go ahead.
And that's Cooper.
You get
And
the last
follow
word.
him at LIL_Cooper 9320. That's his Instagram. He's a funny dog.
Oh,
Are you selling Cooper's poop to people online? I bet you make a lot of money doing it.
There are weirdos out there.
There are.